Welcome to the U.S. latest news channel. Watch the video to the end to find out the current and breaking news about the Russian war in Ukraine. The main battle tanks, infantry fighting cars, armored personnel vehicles, and various self-propelled or towed artillery system were among the trophies of armed forces of Ukraine and other military branches that liberated Ukrainian land from the Russian invaders. A second meeting will be held today at the American Ramstein military base in Germany to discuss defense assistance for Ukraine during its war with Russia. The meeting began at 11 a.m. Kyiv. The contact group meeting is attended by representatives from approximately 50 countries. It is hosted at U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin's invitation. Participants include heads of defense departments as well as high-ranking military personnel from countries around the globe. Participants at the meeting plan to discuss Ukraine's crisis and the security challenges faced U.S. allies and partners. Austin stated that the contact group must agree to continue supporting the brave defenders in Ukraine for a long period of time. Oleksiy Reznikov, Minister of Defense of Ukraine, reported the first positive news from the meeting. Details of additional U.S. assistance are also available. The $675 million new military aid package will include GMLRS ammunition for HIMARS, 105mm howitzers, artillery ammo, HARM air-to-surface anti-radiation rockets, Humvees military trucks, and armored ambulances. The new aid package will also include anti-tank small arms, ammunition, and other equipment. Lloyd Austin stressed that the world now recognizes the obvious successes of joint efforts on battlefield and that it was necessary to continue opposing the illegal, justified war of aggression waged in Russia. According to previous reports, the Pentagon had announced on July 20th that the armed forces of Ukraine would soon be equipped with 16 American M-142 HIMARS MLRS. The United States noted that Ukrainian servicemen have been using the weapons received. Representatives from over 40 countries attended the first meeting, which was held April 26. Vladimir Zelensky, president of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, reported that there has been some success in Kharkiv. This was mentioned during an evening video address that he gave at the conclusion of the 196th full-scale invasion. Zelensky didn't share the names of settlements liberated from Russian invaders by the armed forces of Ukraine. We have good news this week from Kharkiv. Most likely, you have all seen reports on the activities of Ukrainian defenders. The president said that every citizen should be proud of their soldiers. He stressed that it is not the right time to identify the settlements where the Ukrainian flag was returned. The president said that it was time to thank the 25th Airborne Brigade and the 92nd Separate Mechanical Brigade as well as the 80th Aerial Assault Brigade for the bravery and heroism they displayed during combat missions. The head of state expressed appreciation to the 406th Separate Artillery Brigade and the 60th Separate Infantry Regiment for their outstanding hits in the invading areas in the south. The Russian Federation Invasion Forces Aviation lost their Su-25 attack aircraft in Kharkiv. The enemy plane was trying to attack Ukrainian military forces. In Kharkiv, Ukrainian soldiers also captured small-sized RP-377 Russian jammer systems. These jammers are used to block radio control channels for mine explosive device. During their counteroffensive operations in Kharkiv, the Ukrainian military also captured the BTR-4E armored personnel carrier from the Russian invaders. The soldiers of the 92nd Mechanized Brigade lost this BTR-4E in March 2022. The current losses of the Russian military during the conflict were discussed by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the Ministry of Defense of Great Britain. British Defense Minister Ben Wallace stated that the Russian military has already lost over 80,000 servicemen. Of these, more than 25,000 were killed. He said that Russia is still suffering losses and this will have an impact on its future combat effectiveness. It is believed that more than 25,000 Russian soldiers have died since the beginning of this year. Wallace made the following statement to the House of Commons: if you include killed casualties, captured, or the now reported tens of thousands of deserters, there are over 80,000 dead and injured. It is important to note that the Minister for Defense of Great Britain didn't clarify whether the figure included fighters from the occupied territory and representatives of Russian security forces. He also accused Russian President Vladimir Putin weaponizing energy and asked his fellow MPs to inform their constituents. The Minister of Defense of Great Britain stated that it's important that we communicate to all our constituents that some deeply troubling times facing us all are driven effectively by a totalitarian regime of Russia that is trying to harm us all and trying to test our values about whether or not we will sacrifice our value for our energy costs. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 50.150 invaders had been defeated since the start of the full-scale war. According to previous reports, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported Russian losses last March 25. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation reported that 1,351 Russian soldiers had been killed in full-scale military operations. They also had 3,825 injured. The losses of Omen, and the Russian Guard were also counted separately because they are reported to the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia. The Russian side continues withholding information regarding the losses to the Russian army during hostilities between 2014 and February 24, 2022. In its war against Ukraine, the Russian military has an upgraded T-72B3M tank. Twitter observers noticed unusual equipment in photos shared on social media. The photo featured the 2014 T-72B3M tank. It was designed for Russian military participation at tank biathlon competitions. Social media users claimed that the tank belongs to the 5th Separate Tank Brigade of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. It is located in Betrayal. The T-72B3M tank was made in artificial quantities for international competitions and exhibitions. These events were held in Russia, and only representatives from friendly countries participated. This rare Russian combat vehicle is distinguished by its 1160 horsepower engine and automatic transmission. A new commander's panoramic sight was added to the tank. It also included a TV and a laser rangefinder. The TV was located in the rear of the tower, between the gunner's and commander's hatches. The distinctive inscription UVZ on the T-72B3M was found as part of the Russian occupation forces. This is the abbreviation for Eurovagonzavod, the main Russian tank manufacturer. The video shows the Russian invaders hitting the combat vehicle with an anti-tank weapon, ATRK or RPG, or other weapons. The fire was confirmed by the presence of smoke in the tank's combat compartment. The damaged equipment was covered in smoke. The ammunition detonation took place after a brief time. The ammunition detonation caused a strong explosion that completely destroyed the combat vehicle. The armed forces of Ukraine seized armored vehicles as well as weapons of the invaders during the counterattack in Kherson region. Russian invaders were unable to capture several BMD-2 aircraft-borne infantry fighting vehicles. Social media users shared a video of captured Russian equipment. The BMD-2 was not enough. Ukrainian soldiers also received the BTR-D airborne armored personnel vehicle. This vehicle is the primary armored personnel carrier for airborne and mobile troops of the Russian Federation. The vehicle is made from BMD-1 aggregates and BMD-1 assemblies, but it does not include a turret equipped with weapons. The main weapon of BTR-D is two 7.62mm PKT machine gun. BTR-D is distinguished from BMD-1 in that it has a hull almost 483 mm longer than BMD-1. 6 rollers were added to each side of the track support surface. BTR-D's permanent crew consists of a driver, 2 machine gunners, and a pilot. The landing compartment can hold 10 soldiers. The tracked armored floating infantry fighting vehicle BMD-2 can be landed by parachute, parachute jet, or other landing methods. It's designed to transport personnel and increase their mobility, weapons, and protection of airborne troops and airmobile troops on battlefields. The Ukrainian-Russian war, which has recently begun not only to increase geographical tension, but also to have many global effects, continue to bring different situations with it. In particular, countries on the western flank were complaining about Russia's policy towards Ukraine. But now the UK has signed an important step that confirms that it supports the independence of Ukraine. Thousands of Ukrainian soldiers, who are now on their way to the UK, have started receiving military training in a program called Interflex, with the latest decision taken by the British General Staff. At this point, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine expressed its gratitude to the UK for the training, releasing a video showing how the trainings were conducted. While the videos taken within the scope of Interflex were showered with acclaim by citizens of many countries, it was stated that about 10,000 Ukrainian military personnel were being trained in the video. In addition, it was reported in the video that the trainings were conducted on the UK superiors and that the studies will continue for some time. Now, millions of people have started to look forward to the new videos coming within the scope of Interflex.